Hello, everyone. Today is Sunday, June the 19th, recording out of the nation's capital. You are now tuned into PopGlitz Radio, Season 2. I'm your host, JaVonni Brustow, the media mogul, bringing the latest in pop culture and entertainment. Here with me today is Washington business consultant and a personal friend of mine, Patrice Lancaster of Lancaster Consulting. Welcome to the show, Patrice.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So excited.
Of course. Look, you're going to stop sounding sarcastically.
Well, please. I'm excited.
Okay. Good. All right. So, to get started, following last week's terrorist attack at the Orlando gay nightclub Pulse, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has been posturing himself as the champion of the gays and feels he's going to get their support in overwhelming numbers come November. Considering the fact that he supports gays protecting themselves through the elimination of gun-free zones and expanding concealed carry to more Americans, he just might be right. It's a possibility. What do you think, Patrice?
Oh, Donald. It's the media. As far as Donald Trump calling himself the champion of the gays, I'm curious because I don't even trust the media to directly quote this man at this point. So I'll have
of course, you definitely have to see his exact verbiage because you know.
Right. I must. I know it's a reputable press placement from the Wall Street Journal, so I would apply some weight in it, but I don't think he has called himself the champion of the gays per se. Maybe he.
I mean, maybe not exact words, but as far as the support that he might garner, I mean, do you think they'll be likely to go in this direction?
Well, Phoenix LGBT openly endorsed him on Twitter.
I saw that. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. And when it comes down to things like personal safety, those are some things, and there are a lot of crimes against gay people, people in the LGBTQ community. So to bring that conversation to the table that, hey, you might have to protect yourself, it might garner him some support, especially in the more affluent LGBTQ communities in the country. You just might be surprised who might come out for him just because of the right to bear arms, the right to defend yourself piece.
Yeah, I mean, because, the shooter himself, he'd been interviewed and interviewed by the FBI at least twice, and I believe his father, did he run for president of something of Afghanistan or something to that extent, openly gave his support to ISIS, and hey, they did such a wonderful job of, screening him and making sure that he didn't do anything. To hear just any type of proposal from the government to further protect us is likely not going to happen. And all that
reminds me of the Twin Towers and how memos had been sent warning the powers that be that something like this was being planned, and they knew years in advance, and they ignored the information. It's not going to happen too many more times in our country before people start changing the conversation.
Yeah, and for all the things that people want to say about Donald Trump, in fact, I think Roland Martin called him a crackhead the other day. A meth head, correction. He said, this is a sign that one of the party's nominees is a meth head. I mean, it doesn't matter how...
We can rely on him on being impartial and...
he's always saying how impartial he is, all the time that he's so bipartisan.
And if I could just throw race in there, I think any black person that doesn't believe in the right to bear arms, in the climate of this country, they have to be a little touched.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, as I said, just taking all of the rhetoric and everything out of the equation, I mean, with what just happened, you had 3 hours of people held hostage. And there are people who...
Why did it take so long to get them out of there?
Negotiation. I mean, having I don't know. Hey, I'm not the expert, but I want to say that their explanation was that they were in there negotiating. And so I guess to them it's like, hey, if we don't negotiate the right way, he kills everybody. I mean, it's 50 dead versus it could have been, a couple hundred or something. I guess was their logic. And my point was that in that time period, someone could have shot him. There are people who said that, well, if the police had a hard time doing it, what makes you think a normal person would? Out of 350 people, even if you messed up a little bit, a couple folks, someone could have got him. He was folks were texting from the bathroom saying, he's coming. You could have been the one to meet him at the door.
Right. Right. That's my point. I mean, if he couldn't have went into a club with 300 people with guns and done that.
I mean, people argue. I've never been a big gun person, but hey, I will always support the right for people to be able to protect themselves. They say
he didn't take a rifle in the AR-15. That's not what he used. They say
no, it wasn't. It was a lie from the beginning. They said it was an AR-15. That was a lie. It was something else.
It was a smaller gun.
I'm not sure about the size. I mean, it wasn't an AR-15. I know it was similar, possibly smaller. Then they said it was an automatic rifle. Bernie Sanders was talking about the automatic rifle used. It was not an automatic rifle. It was a semi-automatic rifle. And even if it was an AR-15 is not an automatic rifle. It is a semi-automatic. So they lied about this just repeatedly from start to finish.
And I guess the bouncers weren't doing any checks at the beginning, at the entrance to the club.
Yeah, I think I heard that he forced his way in. I could be wrong, but carrying something like that in the open, you're kind of going to notice it. It is possible to hide that in your clothes. And I know it's a popular club. I know people who've been there and have worked there, performed there, etc. I mean, it's possible to carry a weapon like that in your clothes. Not really comfortable. You heard of the phrase about gun walk. That's supposedly, I'm not going to say I have experience, but supposedly what that comes from. Yeah, do a little research. But, and I feel like the people who object to this, like they're afraid of their own shadow. They think, well, bars should not have guns. Well, I don't think that the right to protect yourself should be, limited to certain spaces. Most bars that have concealed carry, they say you can't drink. I mean, you can't shoot something if you've been drinking. I think that's a reasonable law. But this was a no-gun zone. I mean, a gun-free zone, and look what happened. Donald Trump wants to ban gun-free zones, and you can say that that's as simple all you want. I think it's a decent proposal.
We have had horrible things to happen in movie theaters, schools, nightclubs, churches, in enough of these quote-unquote safe places, family-oriented places, or places where our babies spend a good amount of their time, to have had the conversation about the elimination of gun-free zones long ago. And until we hold these hard conversations, these things are going to continue to happen.
And look, go ahead.
And just from a biblical perspective as well, I mean, it was never the government's job to protect you and yours, except for in the time of war.
Right.
But to protect your personal property and to deal, how you deal and negotiate with neighbors or people, talked about the stranger in the land and things like that, how you deal with them, that was all on you to negotiate and things like that. And it was sometimes based on the amount of people, that you had in your army or that you had in your arsenal that you could call upon to do certain things, or to make your wishes known.
Right, and look, one of my favorite anti-gun-free zone stories is that there was a pastor in Detroit where a man came in to try and rob the church. And you might have heard this one. The pastor pulled out his gun and shot the man and killed him in front of the entire congregation mid-service. Now, that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about.
Right.
I bet nobody will go in there to rob that church again.
There's this church I visit east of the river in D.C., where a lot of people come in that are high off K2 and PCP and things like that. If you're going to talk about these things, there being no gun-free zones, I would expect to come to these venues and see super security.
Oh, yeah.
They can come in there high, but trust me, they're not going to get too far because the pastor alone, he has about a staff of 10 security people just for himself, but they security people all across the back of the church and the front. So if these are going to be gun-free zones, then we need to start talking about security, creating or strengthening, the occupational standards for what a security person should be able to do and required to do, and really addressing that industry. Because if I have to be gun-free, I need somebody there.
I want to make sure I'm protected.
Right. I mean, because don't forget the shopping mall also. So these family-oriented places, people have
no regards for protecting family is what it sounds like.
Right. And so then that says, okay, well, we're not going to depend on you. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's just another form of welfare. The police aren't capable of protecting everybody anyway. If
people say that all the time.
Right.
People say all the time that, that being able to have a gun should only be at home. And they say that in the public that it's the police's job. Well, most of us walk around and we don't have security detail. Most of us, you can go all day long without seeing a policeman. Mm-hmm. So if someone comes and bops you upside your head, oh, let me sit here, down 911. Right. And 40 minutes later, they'll come and write a report. No. The idea would be not to be bopped in the head in the first place.
Exactly.
And a gun is kind of a crime deterrent.
And the police
I would think so.
Right. Right. And right. A crisis intervention. But the job of the police is to restore order, after disorder occurs.
Yeah, and look, and this is my other thing. So your right to protect yourself with the Second Amendment is not just for your home. It is also for the public, and it is also to go against multiple people. And so an AR-15 is not the best weapon for one person. A pistol would be better. But for those who want to stop the sale of these semi-automatic rifles, what happens when, we ban them and someone walks into a place with one still and no one has one? I'm not saying everyone needs to walk around with one, but I'm not a fan of banning them kind of for that reason. Another is kind of for technology. Like, what if when the pistol was created, and I don't know what there was before, what musket or whatever, and they said, oh no, the pistol's too powerful, we can't allow it. Just for the basis of the advance of technology, that we can't really stop things like that, because again, where does it lead? Now, Bill O'Reilly said that grenades are, aren't allowed. And I said, well, yeah, that's true, but, it's kind of a difference in, a grenade is not really a normal way of protecting yourself.
But really, imagine someone throwing a grenade in the nightclub.
Look, but he did have a bomb in his car. It was going to be one or the other.
Oh, wow. So the bouncers didn't allow him in. He was going to drive in.
or throw it, or however bombs are activated. I don't know. Blow it up outside. I don't know. I mean, that's devastating enough.
Exactly. Oh boy.
So now for one of my favorite topics, the ever-moving target of what our rights as American citizens are. Former president of the American Union, SEIU, feels that the way to solve poverty is a basic income of $1,000 a month so that everyone has a floor to start on. Before I go on about how ridiculous I think that it is, I'd like to know, pray tell, just where do you think that it's coming from? With, 17, 18 trillion dollars of debt, longest time in history with economic growth that hasn't been over 3%. I think that now we're like at 0.02. I mean, I just saw like celebratory articles saying that, it's 0.04 or 0.05. Really?
Right. It's horrible.
The figures are against Obama. All signs are leading to the election. Show a slowing and stagnant economy. Whatever the case is, you sure picked a great time to think of this. Why not create an economic plan that would give people jobs so they wouldn't be interested in these types of things in the first damn place? That's why I don't support unions. Never have, never will, even worked for one, and I still didn't do it. It's a race to the bottom.
Is it almost time for the union elections?
I don't know. I've got to keep up with that. Darn.
Yeah, it may be the presidential year. Yeah, it may be. It may be.
Thinking up stuff like that. Because, right. Think up something extreme like that. It's something is going on.
$1,000 extra. So,
and mind you, I believe he made this announcement at some poverty, what is it called? One of those global poverty initiative organizations, which will not be named. Don't guess. Carry on. That's actually frightening to me that you would actually, I'm not going to repeat his name. Like the fact that this can be considered as, policy on a global scale.
Right. So my thing is, if you can afford to give each person in America, and I'm going to assume they mean each adult, if you can afford to provide for them $1,000 a month in addition, I'm assuming this is in addition to everything else that they
sounds like.
Will this include working people as well, or just those unemployed?
Because to my understanding, this is for everyone.
Yeah, so that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And then if America can afford to do that, that's enough money at least to do some improvements as far as education or some improvements on increasing maybe the affordable housing parcel in the more expensive housing markets. How about increasing education standards so that our children can effectively compete on a global market, and then we could create our own economy, or stimulate our economy so that people will be attracted again in purchasing American manufactured services and goods. There are so many more intelligent ways to even out the playing field and to deal with this income inequality piece that I'm seeing that's even occurring in D.C., even in our most quote-unquote more disenfranchised areas that haven't been stimulated economically as far as with small business development and things like that. There are a lot of things, maybe even incentives for people to move into entrepreneurship, like just handing out cash has never worked in our country.
Recently, when Obama did his the first stimulus in 2009, all economic indicators, be it liberal, conservative, whatever, all the reports said it did nothing. Like there was absolutely no change in anything.
Right, it didn't, because I damn sure wasn't stimulated.
And didn't Bush give? Remember, there was a tax credit. I think, I don't know if it's some form of a child tax credit where I think parents got a couple $100. Remember?
No, I think you got the child tax credit, but the credit that that made people start calling the income tax return time Black Christmas was the earned income tax credit, which you could get almost upwards of $3,000 per child in a tax credit per year if you met certain income thresholds. You had to make some money, but you couldn't make too much. Now, I've seen how that has impacted the lives of people, causing some people to waste a lot of money, and some people that, financially educated themselves use that to put aside to maybe decrease debt or to posture themselves for some type of ownership, entrepreneurship, or home ownership.
Right.
So just handing out something doesn't solve problems. That's like giving a sick baby. That's a bad analogy. But it's like giving someone something but not giving them the instructions or tools to use it correctly. It's almost like the Bible says, casting pearls before swine. Not only will they destroy the swine, they're going to come and get you afterwards. I like the word the Bible used. It would render you. Like the pig will come and tear you to pieces afterwards for being so stupid with just casting your pearls there. Because what's going to happen is that what I know from entitlement mindsets is once you hand them some, the only thing they're going to do is talk about what that sum you gave them didn't do, and they're going to demand more.
Yes, and see, when we met, I had gotten involved in politics on the other side of town.
Right.
In the part of town that I had not set foot in before. And just the mindset of these people, it's amazing. And it's exactly what you said. When you give a little something, they expect more. And my head wants to explode at it. And so, I do another show with Breitbart, and the host is Sonny Johnson. We're complete opposites. She's a very principled person. Like, she always speaks on principles, which generally goes to everything. And she says she doesn't like attacking people. And I said, well, see, I don't necessarily attack. It's just that when I hear something incredibly stupid, I want to look into. I want to know who's paying this person to say it. I want to know who they work for. I want to know their background, all of it. Just like
because we understand the industry of the rabble rouser.
Yeah.
And how they're paid by people behind the scenes to raise hell or bring attention to an issue that's not really an issue.
And that was what I learned. I mean, things that are not an issue.
You learned it early, didn't you?
Yes, because it's incredible to me that some of these things are a problem. One of the biggest ones, and this was the beginning of, I think, the last election cycle. The mayoral race in D.C. was in 2014. When I went to the kickoff, to the campaign kickoff for Tommy Wells, and he was speaking about, you should have the right to walk to a grocery store. You should have the right to be able to walk to a neighborhood school. You shouldn't have to go take the bus and such and such. And I was listening. I'm like, but like, to walk to the grocery store, okay, I guess. I mean, it's been publicized that the area Ward 8 was a food desert. But the nearest grocery store is like a mile away, one. Like, there are people, when I tweeted that, they're like, I drive like 7 miles to a grocery store where I live. What the hell? This within downtown Anacostia, it's like the grocery stores are less than, how many are within 2 miles? Several.
Right.
I mean, is it a right? I mean, are you disenfranchised because you have to take a bus to the grocery store?
And
you
see,
entitled asshole? I mean, I cannot.
But now we have the delivery services for groceries, so that totally annihilates, his argument.
Right. And also the other one about walking to a school. The school system in D.C. is one of the worst in the country.
Right.
47, 48, whatever. I haven't checked the number in a while, but I'm sure it hasn't changed much.
Right.
So you're more concerned about walking to a school than the actual curriculum taught in the damn building.
And
I don't want to vote for anyone like that because that's always been his issue. You should be able to walk to a school.
Right.
So what?
But
Socialized ignorance?
Right. And the point right, exactly, that's what it is. Because the point that he leaves out is the factors that affect the cost of real estate. So having those robust things within walking distance, hey, buddy, that costs money. So
and they're cheering him on. Yes. Yes.
Right.
He should be able to walk to the grocery store.
Yeah, they cheered him right into losing that election. That's how much they cheered him.
Like, that really was incredibly stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Especially to be able to walk to a school. Hey, growing up, I was bused like almost an hour across town. I went to fine arts and magnet schools to get a quality education. It was not an issue then for me to go to a decent school. I mean, to be able to walk to school. And it's not an issue now, considering how terrible. I mean, how we rank as a country with our public school system towards with the rest of the world. I don't think the distance should be a big deal. It's not. And I learned from you, one of the first political statements that I can remember that we had conversations when you mentioned not supporting the public school system. I think it should be abolished. I'd never heard anyone say that before, and I've practically repeated it ever since. At what point are we going to get it? Just burn the damn thing. The same thing as this presidential election. You failed, okay?
This is something I learned.
Burn the house down and start over again.
No, this is something I learned from a book written by Jesse Jackson's son when he was at the height of his career, and he had two prevalent points about health care and about education. He was saying that neither of the two are constitutional rights. And so what that means is when the writers of the Constitution conceptualized the document, the private citizen had the onus upon them to maintain their own health care and to maintain the quality of the education for their children, which means that if you were going to school, you probably were paying the teacher or making demands on the government to provide that as an incentive for working, doing business, paying taxes in the area.
Yeah.
And what happens is, again, when I went to elementary school in a D.C. public school, and I remember vividly Metro being built in the area, so I remember walking through, even in the snowy times, sliding on wet cardboard or wet plywood over pseudo bridges that were made by Metro for us to walk to school and get back. Well, guess what? Once the Metro was completed, the quality of the school changed. It improved. We had access to a lot more things in the school, a lot more programs. We had violin programs, several computer labs, a marching band that would travel the country and things like that, because the access to the school was being used. The improvement of the school and the improvement of the access to the school was being used to improve the real estate and to increase the value of the real estate in that area. This is the Shaw area. You know it's the Shaw area. How much the homes are now going for an average of like maybe between $800,000 and $1.4 million dollars. So with this improvement of the school and the access to the subway and grocery stores and things like that, it changed the neighborhood. Now, after I left elementary school, I was in one of the top private schools in the country, all-girls private school, where I had to leave my neighborhood, which was still a very urban neighborhood, but it had about, that's when we had a lot of the multi-generational families living in one house, or, just passing the generational wealth on from, great-grandparents to grandparents, where they would be able to inherit and keep the homes and not be taxed out of the neighborhood. So it would take me about an hour to get to school, but I still knew when I got to school that I lived in two cities within one city, and how because it was a better school, just the types of things that I saw and the types of experiences that we could access for free and walking distance, it was like a phenomenal difference. Like I could walk to Martha Gallery, there was no Martha Gallery, in the neighborhood I lived in and things like that. With just the whole experience was different, and that impacted me greatly because it caused me to understand that things like to get back to your point about the money piece, the just giving away the $1,000, how that really it doesn't do anything but increase consumerism and people wasting money on useless goods. We have to, if we're going to do something, if we're serious about changing education or changing the quality of lives of the American people, we have to do it on the level of a constitutional amendment, which will cause the states and the country to create standards, where we could be globally competitive. And that's
my main thing is always about capitalism and capitalism, business. I feel like that's what's going to get us out of poverty. I mean, the main thing when Donald Trump announced that he was going to run, I just said, off of the basis of the fact that he's been successful in business for decades, he's employed tens of thousands of people, that almost alone, to me, would qualify for someone for being president. He actually has done some of what he wants to do on a national level. And as Bill O'Reilly said, it's style over substance that people have issues with. When I challenge folks and political leaders as well, what their issue is with him, they either want to call him stupid or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but you're doing the very thing that you say that he's doing. That's a problem. You're name calling, and that's all that you can do with this guy.
Because people in this country do not approach politics correctly. I tell them if they're looking for genuine hugs, they need to go to church. Politics is business. Politics is about the ability to increase access. Period, point blank.
And if you want your politics, handed to you in a nicely given bow, then we have Barack Obama, and we have, the country's extremely stagnant current economy right now. Personally, I'm not voting for a linguist. I mean,
exactly.
That's not my top priority when it comes to searching for a candidate. Me and you both know, being in D.C., that all it takes is a Toastmasters class to sound intelligent. That's it. So, hey, that's not important. And so they mock how Donald Trump reads a teleprompter. Okay, but Hillary reads a teleprompter too. She just has more experience in doing it.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, that is not important. You are looking at the wrong things.
Right.
We've idolized Obama, and as the black person that so many of us want and we tell our children should aspire to be. And, he's intelligent, et cetera, and he's gotten high, in high places. But, yes, you have to separate the love for the idea of the man from actual policy. There's a difference. And that's just what folks are not getting in this election.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. But, I call it the dumbing down of America because, we are, like, look at what our values are. I mean, look at who our celebrities are and how they came into celebrity, not from having a talent, but just based on who they slept with and how it was exposed to the public. I'm not going to say any names. But look at, what I mean? Look at the reality shows and the themes about most viewed things we use as entertainment and things like that. What are they saying? What messages are they sending to ourselves and to our children? It speaks volumes it speaks volumes about what our morals are and how, you know, we aren't holding people to standards of excellence or you know, I think many people in America think America is the center of the earth, and that if anything happens here, that it's going to affect the whole world. Like, you know, there aren't other continents, 6 other continents, you know, where people are doing business. Like I saw Russia just close a deal today with Mugabe, a $3 billion deal. And just yesterday, they closed a several billion-dollar deal with an Italian firm. So people are doing business. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like we are completely distracted. Like, why is your life goal getting an extra $1,000 a month from the government? That's an insult.
No, absolutely. And look, my thing is that I have never, you know, there's discussions about fixing poverty, et cetera, and I've almost never known what the minimum wage is, and I have no desire to know what it is. And, like, that should be the goal of others. And the issue that I have with my generation, millennials, is, and the reason why Bernie Sanders has gotten the support that he has, these people are afraid of their own shadows.
Right.
You know, we've been through 9/11. We have been through the recession, and so they want to be protected from that. And so they have their list of demands that we want this, we want free school, we want all these other things, because they don't think that they're able to make it on their own, and that's just really what it is. They're afraid of their own shadow. The difference is, again, if the economic structure was put in place as far as employing these people and giving them better marketing skills, etc., you'll be fine. Like, it's a part of capitalism that some things work and some things don't. And I've worked for many companies who have failed. I know this, and that's why I can defend Donald Trump's bankruptcy record. Yeah, it happens. Do you want to know what number of business ideas and strategies that I've had that didn't work, that you told me didn't work, weren't going to work, etc., and others, you know, you pick yourself up and you carry on. And for him,
and try again.
Yeah, for him, multiple decades, he's been through multiple recessions. And for him to still be standing at, you know, where he is, and all that they can think of is, let's get his tax returns. He's probably not worth as much as he says he is. If that's the worst that you can get on someone, that's just sad.
Right. I mean,
he's not worth $10 billion. Oh, maybe he's worth $3 billion. Oh,
he does.
Deal.
Yeah, I'd like to see him practice filtering himself and not filtering his statements or his positions per se, but filtering, being considerate or a little bit less partial about how he expresses his opinions. Because I'm going to tell you something that's funny that happened last Saturday. I got a call from my son. He's 19 years old. He said, Mom, I was just looking at Donald Trump. And I said, oh, okay. What do you think? Because, I teach my children to be independent thinkers and to weigh all sides. He said, Mom, a lot of people don't say what he said, don't like what he says. He said, but a lot of stuff he be saying is right. And I'm using the slang because we speaking in colloquialism. He said, a lot of the stuff he be saying is right. And I said, yeah, I agree. I said, I told him, I'm like, now, I'm not saying that I will support him publicly or that I will even vote for him. But I am going to be honest and use integrity when I listen to his comments. No, not when I read the media's take on what he says, but when I'm able to listen and hear, the things that he says. Now, of course, he shouldn't be talking about his penis size during a presidential debate, okay? And those are the types of filter things that I'm talking about, because what I'm looking for is not only someone that understands, but a part of being a good statesman is being able to know when to say it. You know what I mean? Because with having a U.S. presidency, you can declare war, you know,
right.
or someone, you know, can, you know, be incensed with how you say something, and you could create a perpetual enemy for the country. So those things I do care about, just because I want to live here, and I want my children to be able to live here and enjoy the quiet, you know, have the quiet enjoyment and safety of living in the country. So I need to know that he has achieved the ability to do that. Like he in America, of course, you can be incendiary. He is a celebrity on TV, and that a lot of us that, you know, are giving him a little bit more time to get it together. Our fans and how he made decisions on his shows. I'm being quite honest, you know.
Yeah.
And we do like that he understands the importance of customer service and luxury and things like that. Yeah, that's good. But I need to know that he is able to negotiate and able to show respect for different cultures and things like that. And I haven't seen that yet. And I'm not saying it because I think he's racist. I don't think he's racist. I think he's not been exposed.
And when other races discuss black issues or just anything related, you know, it's war. It's like I just told someone today who posted a picture of her black boyfriend on my Facebook wall in a discussion to prove to one of my Facebook friends that she wasn't racist. And I asked her, I said, you know, just don't acknowledge it. I said, because if you feed into it like it's a trap. You know, you're not going to get out of it. So don't even bother. Like when Donald Trump made his comment about the African American, like he just said, I'm the least racist person, and he wasn't even going to go into it. There's no point to mention your black best friend, your black driver, whatever. It's not necessary because you're not going to win the argument. I didn't see anything wrong with it. The tone is always going to be off because, to be honest, I mean, a lot of other people are afraid to say something to black people, period. Because you're going to, it's going to be, whatever it is, it's going to be taken out of context. So
and we have to consider our role in the Pink Emerson conversation. Like, black people really...
Are you standing there with the weapon, ready to beat the person if they say the word black?
Right. And that's a lot of people, because I was at a meeting in Ward 8 this weekend, and I was just considering, you know, a lot of the people in Ward 8, like, a part of urban culture is to, how can I say this? We're socialized with this tough piece that we have to be tough. We don't have to be violent, but we have to be able to defend ourselves. And so we come into an environment that we don't know. Our first line of defense, based on just, you know, even in our storytelling, our music, everything, our first line of defense is to put a wall up. Other cultures put a wall up too, but they do it in different ways. Some might do it being silent or demure. You know, some might do it in different ways. Ours is like the alpha male, to show aggression. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go bust somebody upside the head, but we will, or we can intimidate you to the point that you know that I'm not one you want to mess with. Well, in other cultures, when they see that, they become afraid because their experience or their socialization says that when, you know, someone comes to you that way, that they're going to hurt you, or they might be quick to hurt you if you do something even unintentionally. So we have to consider that. Am I saying our people need to change? No. I'm saying that we need to consider that and even maybe hold some conversations about it, about ways that we can still embrace ourselves but articulate our wants and needs to other cultures without them becoming intimidated. And that is a huge issue in D.C.
And can I mention, when you were talking about, you know, Donald Trump's his statements, Hillary Clinton went on a tangent talking about his temperament. And the first thing I thought was temperament. Donald Trump's temperament. Please identify the aspirin factory that he went and bombed when someone attacked his personal relationship.
Oh, wow.
During the during the eve of Bill Clinton's impeachment trial, Bill Clinton went and carpet bombed an aspirin factory. I think it was in Kosovo, killing women and children. Okay.
No,
and then he went on for a friggin' week on this, what was it, Operation Desert Storm? I don't remember exactly. But again, it was strictly to get the attention off of the fact that his whore was getting ready to take the stand against it.
But
seriously,
also,
temperament is that the word you want to use?
Remember Hillary's temperament when Barack Obama became a threat? Not even, and it was worse when he became the nominee. But remember when he first became a threat as a potential presidential nominee, and not her, who she thought was just, ordained for that position. You remember, and how they were like, "We did all this for you, black people."
Yeah, I mean, Bill had his statement about, Obama getting his coffee. Remember? No, temperament is not a word that she wants to use, like the whole delete your account fiasco. Oh, ha, ha. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Well, where are the 30,000 emails you deleted, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you brought up reality stars. One of my favorite topics, capitalism. From one of my favorite people, the big mother herself, Miss Amber Rose, better known as Mother Rose. Woman famous mostly for who she's been in relationships with, and her fantastic ability to twerk and make it clap, clap, clap around in a circle. Miss Rose is said to have a new television show on VH1 where she'll be interviewing celebrities, giving relationship, friendship, and here comes my favorite word, entrepreneurship skills. Say what you want about this lady, but this is a show a lot of people need to watch.
Really?
Well, yes, really. My reasoning for saying that is, this is my thing. To quote Taraji P. Henson, she said that what you see on Empire, it's a character. It's not real life. Don't try and emulate this. And I think that Amber Rose is playing a character. Even though this is reality-based. And, part of one of the major conservative principles is to be self-sufficient, independent, all those wonderful things. And in the course of all of this stuff that Amber Rose is doing, including wearing clothing with all types of vowel names on it, slut, whatever, her slut walk, all of that, she is kind of doing so on her own accord. Like, she just bought a $3 or $4 million home. She's become a bit of a brand on her own.
She has.
Albeit whether or not it's a positive one or not is debatable.
Again, it speaks to the values of the American people. It speaks to the values of the American people. If she's created a need, she's created a problem that she plans to solve, and she's having people buy in to the problem. From an economic, from a conservative perspective, no, I'm not upset at her at going after her self-sufficiency that way, but I'm just thinking about, the cost. There's a cost associated with it as far as the messaging that she is sending to impressionable youth. I consider that as a parent and as a woman, because I don't want to be objected by the shape of my body. I don't want my nieces to think that they have to get implants or, body modification, to be accepted or for that to be a standard of their womanhood. But
I want to hear her address this, and I have to admit that I'm victim. I haven't heard her speak. I just would like to hear some of the logic for some of her decisions. Like I said, I mean, I look at her as a character.
Right, she allowed herself to be objectified from her. I mean, when we first even knew who Amber Rose was, you know,
and she was a Ford model. You know, I mean, she had what could have been a formidable career. I mean, you know, I'm a media junkie, so I mean, hey, you know, I love this stuff. But one of the things with Donald Trump is that you stay ahead of the message. You know, you never let people, and if anything, this will just be a lesson for our children. If it's nothing more than say, hey, look, don't do that. Do you see what's on the TV? You don't be that. You know, there's always a little, you know, a message to, or a lesson to learn in everything. And I feel like she is someone who, she really only had a couple relationships. Like, she dated like 3 guys or something in the course of 10 years, or had 3 high-profile relationships, and that's all it takes before you get branded a slut, unfortunately.
Right.
And she calls herself, I guess, you know, hey, the joke's on you. I'm making money, but again, as you said, at what cost?
Right, because, okay, yes, because what the hype around Amber Rose is not the fact that she's been in relationships, that she married the father of her child, and that she did have some pretty decent entrepreneurial endeavors. I remember the sunglass line and things like that. But the hype around Amber Rose is what off of what, you know, Kanye created. You know, he gave her a look and challenged her. I guess they met each other in the mind creatively, and she was able to stretch out and become a brand. You know, from people would be like, who is that with Kanye? You know,
right?
And so, and he was already attached to affluence, like, you know, he was already a pretty successful person, and she has been in relationships with people of note, you know. And what my concern is, I don't want the young women to think that, hey, my key to success is, you know, in changing or, you know, having myself be objectified, or I have to be picked up by a guy who's already successful in order for me to become a brand. And that is becoming a resounding message in our community. I mean, yeah, in our community, because, look, you have Love and Hip Hop. Most of the women who are well known is because they got in a relationship with somebody.
I can't look at that show at all. I mean, and they're generally all moderately successful, or
B-list. You know my favorite word, B-list.
Yeah.
You know, but but they're self-sufficient. You know what I mean? But still, at what cost? You know, you're creating a culture of young women, and they're calling her the new face of feminism. How? How? Because if that's the face of feminism, then that means that she should not have been receiving any type of gifts or any money from the guys that she was dealing with. And from what I know, she was living with every guy she was in a relationship with, and they were the primary breadwinners of the household. So how is that feminist?
You know, in the words of Milo, I don't know his last name, Minneapolis, whatever, the other who has a show with Breitbart, he says that feminism is cancer. And I think that he spoke at DePaul University, I think in Chicago, and yeah, they went and turned violent. And might I add that just because of the statement of feminism is a cancer, that he received a letter from, I think, our student body president or something like that, saying that the reason why things turned out the way that they did, the protests, etc., the students of DePaul University felt that his words would cause get this, a massacre. Not a riot, not making people uncomfortable, violence, a massacre. A massacre, like the 1800s or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty serious. I mean,
and for them to think that this is an institution of higher learning.
It's so bad. I mean, this is a major thing, the anti-PC and anti-First Amendment, rights. And each side kind of has their message that they push. Even the president had to step in and say, like, hey, like, you guys got to cool it. You came here to hear, varying messages and ideologies, etc., so that you can take this information to move on and be successful in life. You can't shut down people because you disagree with what they have to say.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
A massacre?
Right.
This word's a massacre.
And at an institution of higher learning, where's the training in reasoning or the training in the ability to debate? These should be 101 courses. How do you get to greater ideas? How do you tap into new levels of creativity if you don't
deal down because you hurt my feelings?
Right. If you don't deal with the antithesis of the things that you believe or your the coding that you've accepted as yours, if you don't ever deal with opposites to understand, well, how did you come to those thoughts or how did you come to that understanding in order to really measure the validity of your stance, then you'll never grow. And that's how people, how do we evolve? How do we improve? How did Edison, think that something like a filament light bulb, would be necessary, because he dealt with the antithesis of the thought that the candles were the only way to keep a house lit at night. You know what I mean?
Right. So, I'm sure that someone argued with him and said, hey, people have to go to work in the morning. You have to cut all that light shit out.
Right. Or look, it'll be 90 degrees outside. Like, it's hot as hell in here,
Right.
I don't care about you or your homework. Blow it out.
Oh my God.
Or I'm tired of falling all over the place when I have to make a night run to the bathroom. We need.
What is the purpose of me practicing debating? If the liberal masses just generally want to, they want to protest, light on fire, throw eggs, if there was an objection. I didn't get that. The woman didn't even say anything.
Right. She just out of the way.
Object to the speaker. Why didn't you throw the egg at Trump's face? I mean,
and then,
why?
That whole situation too, with the immigration piece. Again, they're allowing the media to set the tone or to set the.
Yeah, I saw you comment on that earlier.
Yeah, come on.
About the percentage of where the visas, those who are overstaying the visas, mostly not coming from the South. I mean, it doesn't take away from the debate on either side. They're both problems, but yeah, we definitely do need to talk about. I don't think that we talk about the visas enough. Those who fly here and go missing.
Mhm. Because they said we have 700,000 visa overstays here. I listened to a congressional subcommittee on Homeland Security, and that was the topic on Monday. The director of Homeland Security and some of the senior men.
I scrolled through your page like a whole week back. I saw that earlier. Yeah.
Right. They don't even have an apparatus in place to really do anything about it, So they're talking about doing some. I didn't really look into what this meant, but
that's one of the reasons why it's not talked about a whole lot. That's an obvious reason. Well, clearly you don't have much of a solution for it. That's why you're not talking about it. It's easier to argue about a wall as if Trump is the one who thought it up. And we know
right.
that's not true.
They want to use this biometric device to more readily identify passengers on the planes and things like that. So they're really holding some serious conversations about putting some things in place. It's going to cost us a little money, but I'd rather them do that than do nothing.
Well, of course. I mean, enough things happen that eventually you get to the point where you have to. I mean, I think during the Home Depot incident where so many millions of people had their credit card information hacked, they were saying about how far we were behind in just credit card security. And so, it's going to cost all this money and no one's willing to spend it. And I thought, so the whole country's just going to be held hostage and, may as well use cash because no one's going to fix it. Yeah, they eventually fixed it. And we all were issued, or many of us were issued chip cards immediately. And that happened pretty quickly in the last 12 months.
Right.
It seems like we all have chip cards these days.
Yeah, my bank issued me one as my initial account.
Yeah, they were definitely not playing about that one. And look, hey, you're one of my favorite guests that I've had.
Oh, really?
Yes, listen, last week, no, it took so long. Last week I had someone on, and it's a complete difference. I mean, the listeners will hear a complete difference. A singer named Smith, and I don't think I want to say his first name. I don't know if this might ring a bell, but I know that he's from Baltimore. I'm trying to think of who he's affiliated with. I'll show you his picture. But anyway, he was so nice and polite and cordial that most of the guests, the first time we've spoken is like 15 minutes before the show.
Okay.
So it's, we're getting accustomed to each other pretty quickly. And because he was just so polite and like innocent, it just threw me off. I didn't know what to do, like the whole show. I was like, I'm so used to misbehaving. What am I going to do with this nice person? I even withheld an entire rant about gun control because I said he doesn't deserve to hear this. Yeah, like the day of the shooting, I think we talked about. I just exempted that whole part. I was like, I can't do that to him. And I've seen his social media, so I don't think that he's that innocent. It was his first time doing radio, so but God, it just, it really got me. Yeah, we've known each other for 5 years now, so yeah, of course we would do good. Why would I think otherwise?
Right. We probably each other at least close to the top of each other's most favorite persons list anyway.
I know, the worst thing that could have happened is you'd hang up.
Right.
I'm not dealing with you today, Bonnie.
Yeah. Or one of my talking tirades.
It's like, why would you say that to me? Wow. All right, everyone. This show has been brought to you by our parent company, VM3 Media, your destination for all your communication and media needs. I would like to thank our special guest, Patrice Lancaster, for coming on the show today. And tell everyone where you can be found online, Patrice.
I can be found at...
Come on now.
I can be found at vm3media.com.
Bam. There we go. And also, I can be found on Twitter at Vonnie Media Mogul, VONNI, and Facebook, JaVonni Brustow. And for the latest on celebrity news, go to PopGlitz.com.